Guys, listen, there's something I have to tell you, and it's going to make you flip out with happiness. The thing we thought would never happen is happening today. 12 months after the launch of Battlefield 1, near its first birthday, the developers have finally released a fix to fix being dumped into empty operations servers. They're adding operations to the server browser. Finally, we will have some visibility into the servers that we're actually joining to play this game mode. We'll be able to see how many people are already in those servers and know if you're joining a good server or not. There is one caveat, however. DICE has now removed 40-player operations completely from Battlefield 1. According to the developers, this is to improve the join rate of 64-player operations, and that falls into line with data that they have that shows 64-player operations were more popular anyway. So we can view this as good and bad news depending on whether you liked 40-player operations or not. I happen to quite like them. They were more strategic and they allowed for better gameplay rather than just being absolute chaos in 64-player operations. But you know what? I'm not going to complain today because DICE has finally made the biggest step forward with operations for some time now. The game mode is undeniably one of the best modes introduced into the franchise for a long time, and now having an easier way to join those matches is exactly what this mode needed. I really hope that DICE push this game mode into Battlefield 2018 as well. I really like operations, and either they continue to keep it in the server browser, or they drastically overhaul their matchmaking system so that it actually finds populated servers and puts you in them, or it puts you in a queue rather than dumping you into an empty server. GG DICE, you delivered the change that the community's wanted for 12 months now. I know it's been a long time coming, but the fact it's finally here makes me very happy. This big change to operations is part of the October patch, and it goes live today for all platforms, along with some other smaller changes and bug fixes, which should help improve your experience in Battlefield 1 somewhat. Now, I watched the live stream last night on the Battlefield Twitch channel that detailed all of the upcoming changes, and I've listed all of them, but I've actually covered most of them in previous videos I've made covering changes to the Battlefield 1 CTE, where all of this stuff gets tested first. Just for you guys though, I will round up everything in this video that we know about the October patch, and give you all the information in one handy list so you don't have to watch 3 different videos to find out what this update actually includes. We'll start off with the Specializations added with the Tsar DLC. Some of them weren't working as intended. The Concealed Rescue perk is now being tweaked so that smoke only starts emanating from a dead player who's got the perk enabled if a medic spots their dead body. This is to both address the issue of smoke spam on certain maps, and it's to reduce some strain on servers apparently. DICE found it pushed something a little bit too hard, and this fix should stop that from happening, and it might have some effect on the server lag. Nothing confirmed, and it might be a very small change, but hopefully we see some improvement there. The Stimulant Syringe perk was also bugged, and it didn't apply that temporary 20% sprint boost to the player that you revived. Whoops. That's now been fixed as well. And lastly, the Healing Hands #1 assignment asked players to revive 10 squad members. This was bugged, and it was assuming players needed to do all of that in one round. That causes a problem because you only have 4 other squad mates in your squad, and this meant people would swap over into different squads to try and revive other unique players, but of course that wasn't the intention. It's now been fixed so a counter in the background keeps track of the revives across multiple rounds until you complete the challenge. Moving on from Specializations towards weapons and gadgets now, there's only some small changes here, but one of them will have a big effect on gameplay, I think. But first of all, the Ottoman Standard Issue Rifle has been switched from the Martini Henry to the Gewehr 98 for better historical accuracy. This should mean that if you're playing the Back to Basics game mode, where you can only use the standard issue rifle of the faction you're playing as, the Ottomans should stand a better chance against the British and their overpowered SMLE rifle. DICE has also increased the overall damage of the high explosive tripwire bombs to above the threshold to achieve an assist counts as kill. They've made sure the boost is above the multiplier applied by the flak perk, which reduces damage taken from explosives, again, to make sure you can get those assist counts as kills, and that should help you in unlocking one of the Mosin Nagant rifles. And lastly, for weaponry, probably one of the best changes that DICE could have implemented into Battlefield 1, apart from those operations changes, they've now implemented a slider into control options that will allow you to specify if you'd like to press or hold the button to activate a bayonet charge. If you set this to hold, this will then allow a bayonet charge to have a separate activation to the standard melee attack, which will always remain as a press. Now, this is another feature that we've been asking for since release. No, wait, beyond that, back in the beta, this is what we asked for, and finally, we're getting that option. I would still like it if the bayonet charge had its own button, but I understand that on consoles, trying to do that on a controller when you've only got limited buttons is very difficult. But I would appreciate a PC-only option for the bayonet charge to bind it to another key. But I'll take what we can get, and right now this slider is far better than what we had before. And now on to some more general changes in this patch. DICE has now removed the elite classes from Team Deathmatch and Domination. Thank goodness. Domination was improved recently when the ticket count was increased so that rounds go on for a little bit longer, and now the obnoxiously overpowered elite classes against infantry are gone as well. I could now see Domination as a mode I'll play more often. In removing the elite classes, because there was only one of them with a smaller player count in TDM and Domination over Conquest, where the elites make a little bit more sense, the elites were extremely powerful, so the fact that DICE have got rid of them is a good thing in my opinion. A few graphical changes have been made in this patch. DICE has fixed a bug with motion blur, so that now when you set it to 0%, that actually means 0%. If you had the slider set to 0, from now on you should get a small performance boost where DICE have fully deactivated motion blur. Before this patch, even if you had it set to 0, there would be a tiny amount of motion blur active, which would decrease your graphical performance. So it's nice that DICE have fixed that. DICE have also implemented toggles to allow us to enable or disable the film grain and chromatic aberration, both of which were introduced with the Tsar DLC, I think, and both of which I don't think anyone actually asked for. So it's nice that we have toggles so that we can turn those off again if we don't like them. And as I've said in previous videos, I like a clean look to my UI, so I will have both of those turned off. And lastly, DICE has implemented some better warnings for the network icons that show up on the right-hand side of your screen. These will show up for various issues like frame rate, server lag, and various other client issues that you could be having, so implementing better icons and a better warning system for what those actually mean is a good thing. This goes alongside a fix with the debug menu where DICE found that some settings could cause server lag, and they think that they've now almost fixed this server lag issue completely, and this patch should wipe it all up and you shouldn't notice it anymore. However, if you do notice server lag for any reason, if you're able to record it with the network graph enabled and then post it onto the CTE Reddit, you'll probably find a developer will be able to take that and find out what the issue is. If there are still issues, they will be fixed in future patches. Overall, this October update doesn't have a huge amount in it, but the changes that have been made I think will have a big impact on Battlefield 1, especially those operations changes. We've been asking for so long for more visibility on those servers, and finally we got them in the server browser, which I think everybody can appreciate considering the matchmaker wasn't perfect for operations. As I said, if in the future of the Battlefield series they go back to a matchmaking system for operations, I'm totally fine with that, as long as the matchmaker actually works and has a queue function so it doesn't just dump you into empty servers all the time. If you're sitting in a queue with 20 other people waiting for 10 more, then you'll find that more people will stay in that queue because they actually know what's happening, as opposed to being dumped into an empty server and not having any idea why that happened. But I'll leave it off to you now. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the October patch. Do you think this operations fix is enough, or are you sad like me to see the 40-player servers disappear? Let me know down below, and I'll try and read as many as I can. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.